everyone. I was just listening to you. Of course, I did not listen to all of you. When I joined, it was quite some time, and some of you were mentioning that you have 10 years of experience and you have a PhD. They are very interesting. One, what is most important for an educator, for a faculty, is the underlying principle that he is a learner. I should always make it a point, I am still a learner. Point number one. Point number two, you are not at a higher pedestal when you are teaching. Naturally, you should be at a higher knowledge level, but when you are teaching in the class, that should never get displayed. What has got to happen is, you have got to give a learner a feeling that you are also walking along with him. Alright? We are discovering the world together. That feeling has got to be there. Your body language itself should be so humble that a learner should feel that, after all, he is not my teacher, he is a fellow walker along with me. When you do that, a learner will get the entire confidence. Confidence can be driven only this way. Right? That is all you have got to do. Then naturally, when you walk along, well, you increase your speed of walking, and surely the students, the learners will also pick up that speed. In other words, if you isolate yourself from the listener, just stand on the stage and start delivering the lecture, surely there will be a phase difference, and you will not able to convince a student that he is learning. In fact, remember what you were doing when you were a student. What were you doing when you were a student? Were you listening to the teacher, or were you copying down the content from the board? Just analyze yourself. What were you doing? Listening and both impossible. You have only one brain. How can you do both? You are not a multiprocessor. You cannot do both. Right? The reason is, naturally, as I said, you have got only one brain. You could be listening different, feeling that together we are learning. Together we are discovering the world. Together we are exploring. It can be a medical education, or it can be a very difficult electronic subject, or it can be a very interesting law subject. Whatever it is, let us walk together. Let us discover together. Right? So that's the most fundamental aspect of teaching learning. Second, the worst part of a teacher is, after teaching you will tell this is important. Isn't it? What is that which is important? Alright. Isn't it? Isn't it? Well then, our teachers have not done it. We have gone through a very bad phase in our life. We agree. But then remember some good teachers who were enacting what I am telling you now. Alright? So don't anytime tell that this is important, because by telling that all examinations are stupid, all examinations are meaningless. Learn to add your presence in whatever you teach. Don't teach just from the book. If you want to reproduce those sentences which are available in the book, perhaps the students may know better English than you. They would read it. What is more important is your interpretation, your originality, your idea, your concept. Alright? It is not just enough to be knowledgeable. What is more important is to interpret the knowledge the way you want. You shall make the big difference in the class. YouTube shall not do that. Nobody can do it. Only you can do it. Have you all seen that old movie Chuck Day? Do you remember? In the final match, what does that Shah Rukh Khan, who is the who has been the trainer, coach, what does he tell? He tells, next 1 hour is yours. Play your game. I shall not tell you how you have got to play, but play your game. When you are playing the game, remember after that 1 hour is over, that 1 hour becomes history, part of history. Did you get it? So when you go into the classroom, when you are interacting with the students, remember that 1 hour shall become a history. At least it shall become a page of history for the students with whom you are discussing. Right? And that history should be such a history that it should motivate a learner to grow bigger and bigger. Isn't it? That is the role that you have got to do. Right? And then you decide what you have got to do. PPT, not when he is trying to find out what problem he has got to solve in the classroom, but it is his subconscious which will be structuring how he has got to put it. You have got to keep your subconscious active. All that I am trying to tell you is, if you are used to alcohol, don't take it, because subconscious will die. Alright, it could be true with men or women, they are all same. Alright, so don't do that. That will really spoil your subconscious. Right? I will give you some small hint. Keep a piece of paper, a small booklet and a pencil always by the side of your bed. You will definitely know you will be sleeping in a semi-fluid state, right? And during that time, you would have got a way how the thing has got to be put across. If you are feeling that you are awake, try to be fully awake, note it down. Note it down, right? That's a very interesting way, and this is the age you have got to do that, not when you become very elderly later. Right? So, keep your subconscious alert, or in other words, don't try to just pass over what you have not understood properly. Right? Number one. Number two, when you are reading for the class and if you have not understood it properly, tell it to your brain that I have not understood it properly and leave it there. Leave it. Because the answer has got to be found out by you only, and your subconscious will definitely do it because it is going to organize the sequence of thinking properly, and the logic shall automatically solve the problem later. Leave it there. Don't compel, don't force yourself. This demands that you cannot be just 1 hour earlier to the class, or you are just 1 hour ahead of class. Isn't it? So what should be the difference between you and your learner? The difference between you and your learner let the class be as big as 100, it is not going to matter a lot for you, because you have been on this side and you shall be observing all the pairs of the eyes, and you really definitely can understand this segment is not really reacting to your speed, your shall be the choicest question of any question paper setter. Don't tell that. Okay? Naturally, the next part is, I told you examination is the most stupid word used. Okay? It is not at all examination. Your job is only assess the performance of a candidate and provide him not the marks, provide him the feedback. Because, you know, the modern phrase in the education, we have got to meet the outcome. When outcome has got to be reached, you have got to really provide him feedback. It is not telling that you have got 4 marks out of 10 marks, but evaluation is only marking. But remember your school teacher, remember your school days. What were you telling in your school days? You would go to your teacher and you would ask, Madam, have you corrected? the ritual of semester and examination as most important target, where people have got to go to temple or mosque before coming to the examination, need not happen, shall not happen. Okay, should not happen. Right? Right? And it also tells the weakness of the people that they remember the God only when there is examination. Alright? They remember the elders. In fact, I got to see the people. They bow down to their parents only on the day of examination, not on the remaining days. Isn't it? And this shall not happen here. So we work on the principle of continuous learning and continuous assessment. Alright? Therefore, our total assessment shall be divided into two components. One, assessing a candidate while he is learning, en route is learning, which is naturally the formative assessment, because that is the period when the student gets formulated, he gets formed, the learner gets formed, and naturally towards the end, it is summative assessment. It's not examination. It is summative. What is summative? Accumulation. Accumulation of whatever the things which were learned piecewise. Isn't it? See, we learned piecewise. And all those pieces have got to be, all those fragments have got to be integrated. The fragments of learning have been assessed individually, independently during the journey process. And then how can he really interrelate, establish the linkage amongst all the fragments, and how can he really sum up whatever he has learned shall become the summative assessment. Is it okay? And remember again, 10 years, people who said that I have 10 years of experience, people who said that I am this, I am and definitely you also would not have done the full justice to the last chapter, and most of your students would not have given the full justice not only to the last chapter, last but one chapter also. Isn't it? Isn't it? Right? I mean, right? The downfall starts. The downfall starts, and then he ends up, somehow I should get a campus placement. If you are preparing the people only for campus placement, I don't need you. I don't really need you at all. Right? Some campus recruitment trainers are more than enough to do that. Right? So the purpose of you is to make them to learn, and therefore in the summative assessment, the question should be on an integrated problem. It should be on the integration of the entire knowledge. It has got to be on the application of the knowledge. People later will come and tell you about Bloom's taxonomy, etc. I'm not going to speak. I'm just going to speak only the philosophy of the whole learning environment. Naturally, it starts with the fundamental, but if it stops at the fundamental, then absolutely there is no way at all. Right? So your questions have got to be exploratory. We must be able to explore the answer, discover the answer. Don't ask him like law people will ask. Tell me in Banu's case what happened? Stupid. Banu's case has happened. Wrong decision is given. Right decision is given. Stupid. Over. What if the advocate had presented the case in the following way? What would have happened to the discussion? Ask that question. Right? Ask that question. My simple example and lovely example which I always would love to give is this. After teaching a course, the question which is asked is, describe how Sita was carried away by Ravana. What is it? What is there to describe how Sita was carried away by Ravana? And look at that question. All that you are trying to do is, by asking that question, you are terrorizing every female student in the class that you could be carried away by a Ravana, and you are igniting every boy in the class that you can be a very wonderful Ravana in life. Isn't it? That is all you are trying to do. Have you ever thought that there can be a small deviation to this question? There can be a small creativity in this question. Alright? Where a student should be able to write logically from the knowledge that he has collected. And he should be able to write something. And he should be logical. Whatever he writes logically should be justifiable. And the mark should be given, award should be given for his thinking ability, not for what he could reproduce from the memory. Isn't it? It can be wrong. It definitely can be wrong. But he has a reason to tell that. Right? That's what a teacher has got to do. Whatever, irrespective of the subject I am telling, irrespective of the subject, it could be electromagnetic theory, it could be English, or it could be even high-ended remote sensing application, or it could be a multispectral data, or it could be a clustering of data, or it could be data cleansing. Whatever you have been talking, the student should be able to generate an answer, not reproduce an answer. Do you know when you ask a question like reproduce from memory, it simply shows the weakness of a teacher, not the weakness of a learner. Right? When do you ask a question, write short notes on? When do you ask a question, write a note on? When you are not knowing what to expect in that question. Isn't it? Have you thought seriously about it? Because you do not know to what extent it has got to be discussed, because you have not done justice in the classroom by exploring the subject very creatively, you will end up asking to show to people, to show to Vice-Chancellor that you have covered the syllabus full 100%. You will add these useless sentences in the question paper like write a note on this, write short notes on this. Isn't it? Have you ever thought, have you ever understood that? Isn't it? So when you are aware, and when you have really taken your students very positively, you shall definitely ask a very interesting discovering question. Is it okay? So, question papers have got to be different. That's where I am telling you, improve your resume, improve the way you look at teaching, you look at learning, improve the way that you look at in bringing up your students, your scholars. Alright? See, let us look at the other end. You all started doing your PhD. When you went to your PhD, general feeling your guide made you to feel was that you are not a PhD material. Isn't it? The first impression that any guide would have given you is, what sort of PhD? From where have you done your master's degree? Where did you do your BTech? Isn't it? That's a type of feeling. Annoying, ignoring, isn't it? But then, you now understand how much were your teachers at BTech level or at MTech level were responsible for that your state. Because they had not put you through that creative thinking. You do it now. You do it now. Could you get it? So you will understand later when our Dean Academy will come and he will discuss what is formative assessment, what is summative assessment. But then the philosophically formative assessment is going along with the pieces and it is piecewise assessment, right? That's all you have got to know. But then piecewise assessment is not write a note on, give the definition of, alright? Give the definition of, okay. This is another very bad, very bad question. Explain. And then what is that explain? After explain, then you will put a limit. In brief. What is that explain in brief? Isn't it? You will tell that. Explain and then in brief. What is this? When we have allowed the candidate, ask the candidate to explain, you should allow him. So don't ask such stupid questions. Be clear. Right? Be very clear. Alright? Okay, but this does not require experience. A youngster can do it. Only thing is that I should have the application of my mind. Did you get it? I should definitely have the application of mind. Well, I shall not like to, but still I shall end up doing it. That is where shall be the difference between an institution of national importance, an institution of excellence, and an ordinary institution. Right? Ordinary institution. Institution is not ordinary. Institution has been made ordinary by the teachers present in the institution. Alright? Whereas, all the institutions of importance by themselves have not become the institutions of importance. The way they practice the teaching learning methodology itself is of that level. Is it okay? Alright. Okay. So I'm not teasing any one of you, I'm not hurting any one of you, but then these are the things which have happened, but then you cannot help, you cannot think in a bigger way because you have not been given such a bigger way when you were the students of BTech or MTech or whatever the studies. But remember, there must be one teacher, there must be one or two teachers who have done the things in a different way, whom you might not have liked because you are getting less marks, whom you might have hated then because you are not knowing, you would be telling how much I learned, I was not able to write it in the examination. You might have been telling, you might have been cursing yourself, but now look back and find out what he was trying to do. Okay? So, ultimately, when you are going to set up any assessment question, absolutely nothing to be produced from the memory. Right? If something has got to be necessary from the memory to be reproduced, give it as a material in the question paper itself. Or ask for an open book test. Ask for an open book test. Alright? But what is more important is interpretation. Therefore, you have got to understand that. So, in other words, in the examination, even without reading the question paper, they start writing the answers. Right? And obviously, boys, they don't do it. Naturally, because even if it's from by heart, it is just so, it is very what is important is continuity in learning, continuity in understanding, continuity in life. However, no questions will have this type of usual phrases, explain, describe, and another usual thing which engineering teachers think and mathematics teachers think behind the problem. Come on, force is equal to mass into acceleration. I think divided by Newton. How many times? And teacher have also derived from the board again and again. Why again after same physics exam? Which means you are forcing him to by heart the theory. Right? Now, another most interesting thing, very most interesting thing in engineering or in science subject is division, fragmenting, practical examination from theory exam. Calling it as chemistry practical exam. Calling it as engineering material practical example, calling it as data structures lab, calling it as database lab, and theory is different. Theory, he will be a miserable failure. He cannot even get 40% marks, but in practical he would have got 90% of marks. In what way does it correlate? Therefore, in our system here, you will definitely enjoy that every subject comes as a package of both what he has got to learn regard to knowledge, what he has got to do in applying the knowledge, and what he has got to pick up as the skill to implement the knowledge. Is it okay? Skill is not something is going to happen towards the end before the campus placement. Skill shall be cultivated every day. The farmer cultivates the skill of plowing the field every day by experience. And that's what you have got to guide your student. Teachers will not get involved into a lot of lecture classes. In fact, when I was a student, I used to pray that let teacher not come today to the class. Because the moment the teacher comes to the class, even if it is only for 1 hour, only for 1.5 hours, but the type of assignment which happens over 1 hour or 1.5 hours is, I will give them to So a teacher has got to be that potential to create the problems, the statement of the problem through which the student shall learn, not based on what you are delivering in your class. Right? I used to ask a very simple question. Okay, when I go for interviews of the scientists at DRDO, ISRO, I used to ask them a very simple question. Okay, this is a textbook. Alright, and it is gathering, I will ask the spelling of the author of the textbook, and definitely I know that I will open the book. Well, my teachers only don't open the book. They look into their teacher's notes, they look into their own notes, and then they start teaching. They have got to look into the original. Right? And many people told me they look into Google before going to the class. As if Google is a Brahman. Right? Isn't it? And you listen to some YouTube lectures as if that is a comprehensive lecture. Comprehension comes from reading the original, going through the original book and understanding it from the total perspective. Okay? Alright. So now, coming back to this, like preparing for the class is one part of it. The second part of it is questions that you are going to ask, right? And then the student has to remind very activity in the class. But it is not making him, calling him, where is your attention? I have just opposite to my office, there is one classroom. I really don't like to have that classroom because after looking looking into that classroom that whatever I see will become my opinion, which may be incorrect, because out of 70 and 80 classrooms available in this, I'm just looking into only one classroom and I'm making my opinion. There is one beautiful teacher, lady teacher, obviously, beautiful, right? But then she was telling in the class, keep quiet for every 30 seconds once. Keep quiet 30 seconds and then continue. Again, keep quiet. I don't know what students were noting down. Were they noting down keep quiet, or were they noting down whatever the teacher was delivering? Why this shall happen if the class is made interactive? Why this shall happen when the knowledge is getting transferred? Right? Naturally, students are enlarged into two modules, module 1 and module 2. Alright? And each module shall have two units, unit 1 and unit 2. And it is so scientifically designed that unit 1 shall be the fundamentals, unit 2 shall be the application of those fundamentals in general. Okay? So, a lot of work has been done. And then I just got to you. L not for lecture, not for tutorials, not for practicals, but L really implies enhancing the listening comprehension of the student. Okay, to be all ears. How many pages, how much of material running into, how many pages can be delivered in one hour class? Have you any time made an analysis? Do that analysis. The best analysis is the following way, a very crude way. You look at total content, let us say it is a 200 page material, 200 page textbook, alright? That's what has got to be delivered for the entire class. Make a rough estimate how many classes are going to be available. Naturally, 32 classes at the rate of 2 lectures per week, 32 classes, 30 classes only. Divide 200 by 30. Now you organize the interplay between the PPT, between whatever it is, video playing, PPT, your classes, your classes, right? And then the television part, the mathematical television part is also so creative in the class. It will not take the television to happen. But something is so creative and the involvement happens, and it is not asking students, but students start feeling the next line of people is going to write this. You know, what a pleasure you will derive when you write that line with the students are expected. You will write, right? Then you write that he also feels and also thinks like my people. They are not thinking like this. So I'm sure everyone will be able to do it. So L is not for just delivering the sub-lecture. The lecture should be the inspiration for a discussion, very for business, right? Very for business, and that is the only time where you are going to really inspire a student, motivate a student. You should run to the library. You should run to Google. You should run to YouTube. Not to understand what you are saying, but to explore the whole world which has been spoken for you in that class. If somebody goes to library, or if somebody goes to some other student, or some other friend, or if somebody goes to some other teacher to understand what you have spoken in the class, understand that you are a miserable failure in the class. Then we find that. Okay? So we understand that because a student should really go right to the library, run to the PDF, only to find out what more I have done. What more I have done. Okay? Good. Then comes something else. T is for dialogue. L is essentially monologue. T is for dialogue. Whereas the way when you were students, all 4 hours used to be only monologues. Isn't it? Teacher used to deliver the lecture continuously and you were noting down without even asking the question, right? And there was absolutely no room for you to discuss except later in the subsequent stages when in the MBA classes they created a room for discussion called case studies, etc. But however in engineering, however in other subjects, it just still continued the same 4 hours of lecture classes. Here we are not keeping it more than 3 hours. In fact, I wanted to reduce it to less than 2 hours, but my teachers also have come from the conventional background. They are still not prepared to reduce it to 2 hours per week. But you people, you are young, you should catch up my spirit and come back and tell me we shall reduce it to 2 hours. Nothing more than 2 hours is required because in 2 hours, how many capsules of 15 minutes are available? 8 capsules of 15 minutes are available and the listening span of every student is limited only to 1 capsule and that capsule should not exceed more than 10 to 12 minutes. So you have got to pick up one, you have got to split one lecture class into only 4 concepts. 4 to 5 concepts, 4 concepts. If it is really tough, make it only 3 concepts. But then see that the passage shall not exceed more than 10 to 15 minutes of one concept, then change the concept, make the class light, have a small interaction, change the concept and still have a wonderful bridge and slide into the next. Don't make it a monotonous, continuous lecture. Right? Okay? So you have got to organize. So we have divided modules into units But you have to divide the units into concepts, and you have got to divide it into lecture-wise concepts. Don't take it from somebody else. You do it. You do it based on your imagination, based on your experience. Alright, just don't pick up. Just don't go to your senior and just copy the same thing. You do it. You put your imagination. That is really what is called the preparation. Okay? That's what is real mapping, imagination, preparation. Alright? Preparation is not by hearting what has got to be put in the class. Alright? Okay. Good. So, the T has got to be transaction, and that is where we shall provide you with the help of teaching assistants or research assistants or your younger colleagues, right? Maybe you being the youngest now, you may be working more in tutorial classes also. So, this is to enhance the transacting capability. Could you get that? And that is really where the learning starts happening. And that is the place where the student starts wondering, how do I implement it? So, implementation strategies shall start. That is the bridging now. Next comes P. P is not practicals, practice. Like law people tell, we practice. Are you still practicing law? Medical doctors tell, are you still practicing? I am practicing medicine, they tell that, right? So, you have got to practice the subject, right? Practice the subject is not reproducing the same line again and again, not by hearting that. Practicing is digging the subject deep in, alright? Practicing the subject is to try to exploit, try to stretch it, elastically stretch it, and try to see what is inside the subject. That is where a student should learn how to elastically stretch. That is the skill, right? So, the candidate should be able to design an implementation methodology, not that you are going to give how the practicals have got to be conducted. Okay? Most of the time, you will give the procedure printed already, and he has got to blindly see that procedure, connect the wires and take the readings. In electrical labs, you do the same thing. In computer science, horrible. People open the textbook and keep typing the algorithm program. Is that the practice? Practice is the student has got to really discover, okay, really write the code by himself, design the code by himself, okay? Okay, good. So, that is what is practicing the subject, and therefore, he has got to get the skill. So, knowledge to skill transformation has got to happen every week. Okay? So, we have divided the semester further year into 2 semesters, and we have divided a semester into 2 modules, right? And therefore, formative assessment also shall be in 2 slabs, isn't it, Dr. Sharda? Formative assessment also shall be in 2 slabs, right? Don't worry if he loses marks somewhere. Give him the feedback and tell him there are lot more opportunities. Lot more opportunities. Could you get it? 1, lot more opportunities. 2, we do scaling. 3, we do finally relative grading. So, at 3 levels, the candidate shall be pushed up. But he should not depend upon this fact that he shall be pushed up. He should work on whatever the best he can contribute and tell him, assure him, nobody can be a failure, because in life nobody is a failure unless he decides to challenge the teacher. Let me see, I am going to give the blank answer. I am not going to do anything. Let me see how my teacher is going to pass me or push me. Okay, it should be that. But on the other hand, you should also challenge, let me see how he cannot open his mouth. Isn't it? Right? You have got to really irritate him. You have got to really challenge him. And the originality in him has got to come out. More so, most important, which you should not forget is this formative assessment shall not be based on the individual contribution. He will be working in a team. Because later in life, everybody has got to work in a team. That is the reason why you get married, isn't it? You cannot lead the life all alone by yourself, right? And that is why even before the marriage, you will have dating only to find out whether this partner is the right partner for me or not, right? Therefore, we also here create that environment where every student shall work in a team, all right? And now how the teams will be made? Scientifically, our Dean AA shall explain. Nobody can choose their own team. Team will happen because you don't know. Did you ever imagine that these people will be your colleagues in your life? No. Similarly, even they, 4 people will be there. They will be working together. But now your responsibility is more. When they are working together, the advantage of knowledge shared by all the 4 people will enhance the capabilities of a poor learner in the team, because other 3 will share the knowledge for him, right? Therefore, the question of he becoming a failure shall not arise. However, your responsibility is also to find out who has contributed what in this assessment, whatever the assignment you have given, how well they have done, who has contributed what, right? Who is really a knowledgeable professor out of the 4? Who is a visiting professor in the team? Who was a coffee boy in the team? Who was an ordinary clerk in the team? You should assess, you should find out, right? Isn't it? After all, in life we need all the people. Not everybody will become researcher in life. Somebody will become production engineer, isn't it? Somebody will become sales engineer. All of them will make money. But then it is you who should find out who is there in the team, the sales engineer. Who is there who has given the original idea? You should be able to find out. So, it is not taking the answer book and valuing, it is keenly observing. That is where you have to train your teaching assistants also how to observe. Did you get it? You got to get involved with all the 4 people from a distance without disturbing them. Right? They should never feel that they are being assessed, but they should get assessed. Could you get that? And naturally transparent. Whole thing, the assessment process itself shall be transparent and you shall give them the feedback. Is it okay? Good. Our formative assessment as on day is 60% in this institution. Could you get it? And our summative assessment, as I told you, summative assessment is similar to your semester end examination or whatever it is. But that is not the purpose here. Summative assessment is integrating all the fragments of learning. Therefore, every question shall be compulsory. No choice. Absolutely. Life does not come with choice, isn't it? Isn't it? You can choose the partner. Choice is there. But after having chosen the partner, you have got to live with the same partner, isn't it? Yes or no? Okay. Alright. Okay. So, there is absolutely no choice. Right? But the question, each question, heuristically, thumb rule, should contain at least, should not compromise, should contain at least 50 to 60% of the syllabus. Every question should contain, not unit-wise. Certainly not unit-wise. Did you get it? The question should be here and here, A part, B part, C part, whatever it is. It should be holistic question. You will learn it. Our teacher, our Dean AAS office shall definitely do that. Okay, Dr. Sampath will come and explain, and you can also pick up the sample question papers which are available here. Okay, and I still monitor the question papers. Okay, so summative assessment question should be the question paper when it is served. Every student, everyone, including the most intellectual, all right, should feel that he is sweating on the back. Could you get that? He should feel, I understood this part of the question. I'm not sure about this part of the question. That feeling has got to be there. But he should not be let down. It is not that the entire question is not understood by him. He should not be let down. But he should understand, yes, I can hit here, but I don't know how to conclude. Right at this stage, I'm not able to conclude it. I'm not able to exploit it. I'm not able to put a link properly. That is what he has got to get. But as a teacher, you should be aware of what is called time auditing your question paper. Nobody does this, time auditing of the question paper. Okay. So if your question paper is for 2 hours, and if it is for 50 marks, 2 hours is 120 minutes, 50 marks. So for each mark, how many minutes are available should be time audited by you. And in that, minimum 40% of the time for planning the solution. And another 20% of the time for organizing the solution. And next 40% of the time for writing down the answer. Is it okay? Then tell me, where will be the time left for the student to prepare notes, chit and keep it in his pocket and come to the class? Right? And of course, this will happen if you ask same dirty questions like explain, describe, okay, right? And that's what is going to happen. So you have got to be very careful. And when the questions are A, B, C, D, the first question should be reminding him and directing him towards what fundamental aspect should be taken. It is not only reminding him and also indirectly directing him. Look, this is the fundamental that you have got to apply to solve this problem. And then B should build upon that. C should go to the third level of Bloom's taxonomy. D should be very difficult. Alright? If he is naturally intellectual, should be able to answer. Right? Very naturally intellectual should be able to answer. But then, he has solved 75% of the question. Therefore, where is failure? Right? Ensure that there is no failure. Ensure that everybody has learned. Ensure that everybody has participated. Ensure that the learning is because of the team, not because of the individual. And here is the big problem. The big problem comes because of the rank holders, so-called rank holders. They come and tell, sir, whole effort is mine, sir, and all the remaining 3 are getting the marks, sir. I am not getting the marks, sir. That is where, as our teacher, you are the adjudicator, you are the silent judge. You should be able to find out who has been the real contributor and who have been exploiting the intelligence of one person. You should be able to find out. Naturally, that person shall be an outlier and the remaining shall decently try to catch up this outlier. Okay, that is your responsibility. So, there is a responsibility and this responsibility will make you a better teacher. That's all. Okay, not an ordinary teacher. Okay, definitely not an ordinary teacher. Right? Could you get it? Simple. So, our summative assessment as on day is only 40%, out of which about 20% is for capstone project or practicals or practical assessment or whatever it is. Hardly another 20% is for the actual written examination. Okay? In fact, if somebody wants to get 0 out of 20, he is welcome. See, a sharp, intelligent person shall definitely see that. Formative assessment, already 60 marks, isn't it? And in that, how much marks he has obtained, he knows it. Does he not know it? So, in the 40%, 20 marks is for practical. He knows how much he can get. And then why should he invest his time unnecessarily for the last 20 marks? But attending is compulsory, attempting is also compulsory. Therefore, he shall try to put his summative approach to learn, but he can definitely appropriate your time depending upon wherever he is weak, he shall focus there in that subject to make it up. Wherever he is strong, he will allow himself to be quite natural in that. Okay? Yesterday, one correspondent, news correspondent of, we have an internal magazine called Voice, he had come and he asked me a question, sir, when it started, summative assessment question paper used to be so beautiful, so wonderful, why over time it has got diluted? I said, it is not diluted, it is only to keep your parents pleased that your words can fill up some pages. Our teachers have done it that way. Right? But I am very happy that the student could ask me this question, why it has been diluted. So that is the difference. I want people who have learned, not who have been prepared for a stupid examination. Those who get prepared themselves for an examination, their whole life ends with examination. And next day again they have got to restart for a campus interview. Again they have got to restart in the life. Again they have got to restart and keep restarting in the life. But then they will not have the time to apply the knowledge that they have picked up during their student life. Okay? So let my students be learners all through continuously. Alright? Okay, I shall stop at this point. I shall pick up some questions from you, because you are already teachers by your own merit. You must have followed some procedure. You must have followed definitely some teachers would have thought of their own methodology also. Good. Go ahead. Have they gone through our regulation? I mean, are they aware that regulation R22? Well, they are all telling R22. R22 is in the year 2022. This university decided that this shall be the first private university to internalize national education policy. Okay? So whatever has been the outcome, it is called R22, Regulation 22. Now what is going to come is Curriculum 24. Every 2 years once they are going to revise the curriculum. Right? Curriculum 24. Curriculum contains only content. What content? What has got to be taught? Regulation tells what are the rules of the game. Right? So the rules of the game are continuous assessment. The rules of the game is keeping away the students from rote learning, no rote learning. And the rule of the game ultimately is learner should experience learning. This is called experiential learning. Okay, this is what our national education policy recommends. It has got to be it has got to be the application of the knowledge, and it has got to be experiential learning. All right. Okay. Please go ahead.
So thank you for the insightful, valuable insights. We truly enjoyed it. Just one question. I've been teaching you for last 4 months now. Ever since the inception of AI tools, students have this practice of simply relying on ChatGPT, Gemini, and other tools, and almost complete indifference to read books. Even when we refer certain specific pages from a textbook or reference book to go through, students are not ready to do that.
Perfect.
So how do you look at this thing, sir?
Yeah, that's good. What I would do is my assessment, I shall make it more interactive. My assessment shall become more viva voce based, assessment, interactive based. All that you need to do is you got to spend only 1 minute, which is 60 seconds to 90 seconds to interact with the student to find out that it is not his answer. Right? It needs. That's where the teacher has got to be smart enough. You will allow them. After all, you need also some material to push them and pass them. After all, this is a private institution. I have to produce 100% result, isn't it? Isn't it? Right? So, to have that, let me have the material. Let him use ChatGPT or whatever it is. But the upper part is by make him understand that it is not his answer. He has made ChatGPT or used generative AI to produce the answer, and it is your question. How well have you understood? See, during my days, I was not even valuing the MTech answer books. My class used to be 20 to 25 students. I never used to value the answer books also. I would just go through the answer books, all answer books. Just peruse through them. And call the student again. Ask him, how have you answered question number 4? Can you present it? Can you just present it? And then I'll also ask him, as a teacher, how much marks will you give? Okay? And no student was trying to overestimate himself. He would definitely tell, sir, out of 10 marks, out of 20 marks, I shall give 12 marks. No problem, I shall give you 14 marks. Yeah. So life, simple. Are you not good enough to find out whether he has understood? See, ultimately, let him pick up the answer. Let him copy from Google. Let him copy from ChatGPT. Let him copy from his father if he is also an engineer. Let him copy from another school. In fact, for Mysore, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore is only hardly 120 kilometers away. I used to tell my students, go and pick up the answers from IISc. Absolutely, I am not worried. But my question is, have you understood whatever you have written? Whatever has been put by him, you should have a clarity. You should have a clear visualization of whatever he has put. Did you get it? Of course. It is very difficult. There are some sales engineers in the class. Once the ChatGPT has produced it, they will put it much better than what ChatGPT has done it. They will explain it. But you should now go to find out whether he can he really apply and ask a slightly deviated question he will not be able to answer. Did you get it? It takes time. That is how you have got to train your teaching assistant. That is how they have got to be assessed. That is where you have got to spend minimum 15 minutes with every batch of 4 students. Alright? And all the tough questions when you look at some other person, you should very clearly find out that he is the team leader there. Isn't it? Not he. Right? So you have got to pick up these aspects. Well then, you are safe if you are using generative AI. You are really safe if you is copying the answers from Google, because you have the justification and you have the conscience, you have the moral courage to give him some marks. But not 100% of marks. Why should you give 100% of marks? Give him 2 out of 5. Give him 2.5 out of 5. Absolutely no problem. But to get 4 out of 5, he should have understood what he has written. Right? Good. Okay. Good question. Yeah. Last question. If you are asking the question, I am happy that my voice has reached the last bench also. Right.
Sir, I have one question, and it is a privilege to have been working here for the past 10 months.
Okay.
So I have done the evaluation, the assessment for the students, my MBA and BTech students. And what so far I have found out is that the students are weak in English. So while correcting their papers, it is very difficult to find out the meaning of what they have written. So what I have done is that, as far as possible, I call the students. I told them in advance, because you might not be coming from the English medium, you might be coming from the Telugu medium. So if your English is weak, at the start of my class semester, I used to tell them, after examination, when I am evaluating, you come to my cabin and you explain to me your answer, then I will give you marks on that. But it is really difficult because the examination department are pushing us to submit the marks. So one suggestion is that if it is possible to take up this a small English subject in every of the class so that they can improve their English, that is my suggestion. And if it is possible, I think it will help them a lot, sir.
I have been asking my, Dr. Sharda first to conduct these English classes for my teachers also. Because I am finding it difficult in the meetings to understand some teachers. Okay. And then I call them, like you call your students, I also call them personally to my office and ask them to reproduce whatever they have told. Even then it is becoming difficult for me to understand. Okay. Right? Whatever you have been doing is right, and whatever your suggestion is perfectly right. I understand that. Right? But now what you have got to do is, you have got to convert your question paper not into verbose, not into a big description. All that you have got to do is make it more bullet oriented answers. In other words, point oriented answers. At least that you can read it. And you can have some answers where computer would have spelled as KAMPTUR or whatever it is. But still you should make out that this is computer COM, you give the marks. Okay, alright. Okay, alright. Because after all, English is not a phonic language. That's the worst part of English. However, you have got to ensure that they have at least put their efforts in understanding the subject. I really understand this is what Remaining 50 marks, you keep it as minimum and make it a quick valuation possible. Okay? Alright. And even if you want to make it MCQ sort, you can do that also. Okay? But yeah, good observation, good effort.
So my question is, I have observed also from my previous stays during my PhD that in the undergraduate courses.
Sir, you're from where? With your PhD from which place?
So I did my PhD from IIT Kanpur.
Okay.
And
Which school?
I was in Department of Electrical Engineering with a specialization in MVLSI.
Okay.
So what I observed is I felt that there are 6 to 8 subjects per semester, including the laboratory, and many of the students may not be able to devote that much time per subject. Don't you feel or your comment that the quantum of material in each subject or even the number of subjects may be overwhelming the students, or is my perception wrong? Could you clarify on that?
Your perception is perfectly right. We have a bad notion to show the world that we have the best syllabus and we have the widest coverage possible. That is not the way. The way is teach little but teach very well. And they should be able to spring out from that to discover anything which is not covered. Right? So we have been trying to tell our teachers, don't just try to show the world that we have taught this, we have taught this. Ultimately, you will end up asking the nonsense questions like, write a note on, write short notes on. Isn't it? Without getting into the greater details. Right? But then remember how our guide used to grill you at IIT Kanpur, and that is what has got to happen at this level. Therefore, we have put a further restriction here that at any semester, during any semester, the actual coverage should not exceed 20 credits per semester. In fact, well done. Because you asked this question, in a day, how many hours are there? 24 hours. Alright. In those 24 hours, how many hours one has got to sleep? All 24 hours. Alright, okay. Alright. So about at least 6 hours, 8 hours. Subtract this 8 hours from 24 hours. How many hours are left? 16 hours are left. Out of the remaining 16 hours, he has got to, see, BTech student, he has got to build up the personality. It is a period when he has got to develop his personality. Therefore, he should get involved in meeting his friends, peers, girlfriends, boyfriends. All these things should happen at that age. Otherwise, the hormones will be suppressed. Right? And then they have got to play, watch movies. All these things should happen. So, you on an average remove 2 to 3 hours for that. On an average, remove 2 to 3 hours for that. And another 2 hours for brushing the teeth, for getting ready for the class, etc. you remove. And in these places, he has got to travel by a bus, etc. you remove 1 more hour. All put together, about 6 hours would be removed. So, what is available is 10 hours. Could you get it? Could you get it? 10 hours. Now, out of 10 hours, if he really uses all these 10 hours per week, assuming a week to be 5 days week, not even 6th day and 7th day, but here it is 6 days, but in IIT Kanpur it is only 5 days, okay. Assuming that it is 5 days, 10 into 5 is 50 hours, alright. Out of the 50 hours I am telling, out of the 50 hours, minimum 40% should be on his own. and 60% in the presence of the teacher. So how many hours? 60% of that 50 hours? 30 hours. 30 hours should be the contact hours in the classroom. And remaining 20 hours, the teacher himself, student himself has got to invest. But this 20 hours should be multiplied by 4 because 4 students will be working together. So 20 into 4, it will become 80 man hours. So a teacher should extract 80 man hours of work from a group of 4 students. Right? So 30 hours is your teaching. 30 hours is your interaction. What is 30 hours? Hardly 20 credits. Right? Hardly 20 credits. Not more than, because every credit is equal to 1 hour of classroom teaching or 2 hours of practicals and laboratory. If it is practicals and laboratory, that also gets involved into up to 50 hours, because practicals and laboratories will not continuously be monitored by you. By teaching assistants, it will be monitored, isn't it? So, guided, supervised, interactive classes should be not more than 30 hours. Unsupervised, independently the students have to get involved, is about 20 hours. So 50 hours. And those who are slow learners will utilize another 10 hours at the weekend. And those who are very smart, they will go for a movie. They will go for having their own interest, like participating in the drama, or even right from that age they start preparing for civil service examination. Right from that age they start planning GR. Okay.
Any more questions, reflections?
Change cannot happen overnight. Alright? Change shall not happen overnight. But we should not leave India. Right? Because towards the end of the life, we have got to deliver a more powerful experience to people than what I have delivered. Okay? It should be experience. Only experience to come. Simplest example, again my usual example, Dr. Sardam has alluded to several times. Is there any married lady here? You are married. You are also married. Oh, you are also married. Are you sure? I'm not still sure whether I'm married or not married. That's the reason. You're sure, right? You're unmarried. Okay. You have plans to get married? You're a boyfriend? You're again. You're a boyfriend, right? How can they be different? Fiancé is different, boyfriend can be different. How can that be possible, right? Okay, alright, okay. Alright, so you are married, I ask you a very simple question. How did your mother-in-law receive you when she saw you for the first time? Do you need a preparation for this question? How did your mother-in-law receive you when she saw you for the first time? You can answer it, right? And obviously, not as a fighter. You can answer this question, right? It doesn't need any preparation, isn't it? Does it require any preparation time? In fact, on the contrary, she will ask me the question, is it for full 20 marks question or is it 10 marks question? Or is it only for 5 marks question or is it only for 2 marks? In other words, if I tell it is only for 2 marks, she will answer it in 2 minutes only. If I make it 20 marks question, she will make a full movie of 3 hours also. Isn't it? Because that is an experience. How your mother-in-law looked at you first day. How did she receive you? What was the first talk she had with you? This is all an experience. So learning should be experience. A good movie, when you are watching a good movie, you will become an actor. When you are reading a good novel, you will become a hero. And if your villain present in you is very high, you will also truly become a villain when you are reading that book. That is what is experience. Did you get it? So when a good teacher is teaching, a student should feel, I am experiencing that. Right? I am really experiencing that. That is why, and of course, to add the value to the experience, it is not only in the classroom, in the practice, he should really experience the subject. Did you get it? That is why all papers are split into LTP. Either T should be there or P should be there. It cannot be L alone. There may not be L at all, but there has got to be T or P, because one has got to experience the subject. Good, right? Good custom. All right, last question. When are you going to stop, sir?